Please note that other attendees are permitted to film, photograph or record the meeting, provided it does not disrupt the business of the meeting. If you do not wish to be filmed or photographed, please identify yourself so that anyone who attends to record the meeting can be made aware. Councillor Powers, he has declared a Schedule 1 interest in the item to be discussed today. As his deputy is unable to attend to present the views of the Tsar County Group, a written statement has been provided and will be read out to the meeting at the appropriate point. Councillor Bowes has also given her apologies and has declared an interest in the item to be discussed today. As she is unable to attend, she has requested and received a dispensation from the monitoring officer to submit a written statement which will be read out on her behalf at the appropriate time. Next item on the agenda is declarations of interests. Are there any declarations of interests for items on the agenda today for those who are present? We now move on to questions from members of the public. And there are 27 questions. The first 3 questions, the people asking those questions are not present, so the answers to those questions have been published, but the first person who is present is Mr. Hands. Would you like to come forward, Mr. Hands, and ask your question, please? Yes, just for clarification, you've been provided with a written answer, but you now have the right to a supplementary question.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Chairman. My question, I think, is directed to Councillor Price. Those of us who attended the last scrutiny meeting, there were many misleading pieces of information put forward by the representative of Balfour Beatty, which, when they were challenged by people in the public audience, we were promptly told to be quiet, which is fair enough, but they weren't answered, nor were they challenged publicly. Councillor Price, can you please answer the following points? Balfour Beatty has been contracted by Hereford Council for many roles, at which many of them have done well. One of those, though, was to advise on the Hereford bypass link road, and I call it the link road because it's no longer a bypass with the proposed housing. How can they be permitted to arrange the public consultation document for the Hereford route and then mark its own homework? Glibly, it was said, 59% of the public response was in favour of a bypass, when there was no option on that consultation paper to object to a bypass at all, or to give a reason why it should not be built. And how can this council take major decisions on a bypass without waiting for the responses from Natural England, Highways England, the Woodland Trust? Surely any democratic body, unbiased, should wait for all of the information to be assembled before taking a decision. And finally, Councillor Price, it's not personal, but may I ask what qualifications you have, other than being a local farmer and resident of the Golden Valley, to oversee this project that will devastate the countryside of Hereford?
Councillor Price.
Thank you, Mr. Hands. I will start with your last point. Decision making at any council is done by the officers and the administration, and the administration is made up of elected councillors. I am the elected councillor for Golden Valley North. I have been elected to be a cabinet member for infrastructure, and as such, it is not whether I have a qualification, it is whether I am able to ensure that the recommendations and the work that's done by the officers is done in a sensible, evidence-based fashion that comes up with recommendations for us to go forward. I do not have to be an engineer, I do not have to be a consultant in road building, but I have the ability to be able to talk to people to find out the answers that are necessary to make the decision. With regard to your other point about Balfour Beatty, it is for Balfour Beatty to be able to explain for themselves, and on the point that you raise, I would ask if there is an officer there that would like to answer the question directly for you, because you seem to think that there is some ambiguity in what was said at the previous meeting. So I'll throw it back to the officers to just...
Conflict of interest.
Balfour Beatty are the public realm contractor for this council, and as such, this is a contract that they have as part of being the public realm contractor. They are not able to be part of the procurement exercise for building the road, but they are our public realm contractor, and this fits into that role. That is what they are contracted to do for us, and that is what they have done. There is no conflict of interest in that context.
Thank you, Councillor Price. Thank you.
So that's all right then.
So, members of the public, I'm just going to ask Mr. Brooks to help answer the question. So, if you could just allow Mr. Brooks
Does he need to declare a conflict of interest?
Can you just please allow Mr. Brooks to make the point that he wishes to make? Thank you.
The point was raised about there was no opportunity within the consultation brochure to say that people did not want a bypass. If you turn to question 2, it's quite explicit. It says, do you agree that a bypass should form part of the package with the opportunities to say yes or no? I struggle to think of a more straightforward question to ask than that.
Okay, thank you for your question, Mr. Hans.
Did Mr. Brooks have a conflict of interest? He won't be working on the next £2.96 million worth of work, will he?
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Sorry. Can we just have questions from those people who've submitted their questions? Thank you, Mr. Hans, for your questions.
Thank you, Chairman. I just remind people of the 7 principles of holding public office. Thank you.
The next question was from Ms. Burrows, but it's been indicated that she's not here, and so the next question is from Mr. Milne. If you'd like to come forward and ask a supplementary question, Mr. Milne, thank you.
It's not unrelated to Mr. Hans's question of Councillor Price. Obviously, if you are prepared only to count a subset of respondents, you will skew the percentage. The fact remains, 1789, ticking yes to a bypass out of 4351 is 41%. And the report adds that 1747, indicating a preferred route, is just 40%. We now learn quite a few volunteered preference for an eastern route, so the actual percentage supporting the western will only be 30-something%. And of those, only 121, or about 3%, voted positively for the red route. Yet, I am reminded that at full council on the 9th of March, the Cabinet Member for Infrastructure said, I quote, "It would be wrong to set a percentage to the question," and he is recorded as adding he would press on with this bypass no matter what. In that case, would he kindly beg our indulgence for misleading us to thinking we had a say, and for spending money, collecting data he uses as he chooses?
Councillor Price.
Sorry, I found it very difficult to hear what you said because you may laugh, but if you can't hear the question, you can't hear the question. However, I will take you back to another point in that...
I'm very happy to repeat it.
Yes, I understand, but when you are talking about all of the percentages, I need to have your supplementary question to look to see what it is you're trying to get from me. I answered the question and I've dealt with that. I will review what your question is and I will give you a written response in regards to the specifics of your question that you just asked. But I would just go back to remind people that this bypass is not something that has just come about in the last period of time. I would take you back to June 2008, which is 10 years ago in the core strategy developing options consultation, that when people were asked whether or not they wished to have delivered a blended package of transport and public transport improvements, including an out-of-distributor road, as it was called at that time, 79% answered that question, that they did. And on the alternative question was develop a package of public transport measures to enable growth without the provision of an out-of-distributor road, 21%. So 10 years ago, we had a vast mandate to build up the necessary work for the bypass. That has been ongoing for that 10-year period and will continue. Today, we are here to just to choose the route. So I will answer your specific questions when I have the audio of your question. If you can actually provide it to the clerk, that would be even better still. But I am in a position whereby we have been working on this for over 10 years, and I believe we have a mandate to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mill.
I will look forward to your answer.
Right. Okay, so the next questions that we have are from Mrs. Palgrave and Mr. Palgrave, neither of which are present, and so we will go to the next questioner, Miss Richards, who has a supplementary question. If you would like to come forward, please.
Is it possible to turn the sound up at all for the people at the back?
Very difficult to hear.
Okay, noted, thank you.
Good morning. Can you all hear me? Sorry, but I was referring to the Cabinet report, not the Phase 2 consultation report. The Cabinet report at paragraph 98 says the need for significant investment in transport infrastructure is recognised by the Council, the LEP and Highways England. At paragraph 105, it says, there is ongoing engagement with statutory consultees. This includes consultation with Highways England on transport modelling, developing a business case, and establishing the required design standards, consultation with Historic England, discussing options to avoid adverse impacts on heritage assets, including the setting of listed buildings, consultation with Natural England to agree the approach to the habitats regulation screening assessment, and matters in relation to watercourses and flood risks, particularly design requirements for the River Wye. If Highways England has said it supports significant investment in transport infrastructure and has been consulted about developing a business case, etc., and Natural England is responding in an ongoing manner about the approach to screening and environmental impacts, where is the evidence to support these statements made by the authors of this report? And why is this not publicly available?
Councillor Price?
Very eloquently asked question, I might say, Ms. Richards.
Can you speak up a bit?
It is clear that over the last number of years, the many conversations, meetings with officers and officers of the mentioned partners have been ongoing and have got to a position whereby this scheme is now a priority scheme with all our partners.
Scam.
Please, can you just allow Councillor Price to answer the question? Thank you. Out of respect to the person who asked the supplementary.
It is not necessary for our partners to put forward into the public every single conversation that is had, because it is with many layers of the organisation, right from the local through the regional to the national organisations, and when they come forward with a business case that will be developed by the time we get to the planning stage, we will hear everything that Highways England, Natural England, the Environment Agency and all of those other partners, including the LEP, Midlands Engine, etc., they will have all of their points into the business case as it is worked up alongside the planning. The process is what it is, and we are here today to further that process in the choice of a route for the bypass. Now, it will all become public in the business case as it comes and is developed, and the funding alongside it. Thank you.
Thank you for your question.
Yes, there is no evidence that Mr. Price is there.
Thank you very much.
Consultation.
The next question is question 10, and Mrs. Morietska. And Mrs. Morietska, would you like to come forward and ask a supplementary question?
Thank you, Councillor Price. I noticed that in previous meetings, Councillor Price has expressed expectations from central government for funding coming forward for this scheme, and also has expectations that the new road will be adopted by Highways England. But at the moment, there is no written evidence to support these expectations. But like the answer to the previous questions, there is no evidence. There is also no assessment that this road delivers best value for money over alternative transport measures such as active travel measures. At the current time, there is no funding in place for this project. You're going to have to borrow the 2.54 million for the next stage of consultation, which I understand will be going to Balfour Beatty, who will be doing the next round. I think they're here today. Even if the council is successful with their current bid, the council would then have to borrow a minimum of £65 million to deliver just the road, even if they're successful with the Housing Infrastructure Fund. There is no decision yet. In view of the situation in Northamptonshire, which has had its second warning, is this Cabinet confident to ignore the viability assessment of the planning inspector on the core strategy local plan, which she said that if the council were to pursue this project, it could risk the financial viability? Is Cabinet here today to risk the financial viability and the future of Herefordshire Council itself?
Thank you for your supplementary question, Councillor
Well,
Price.
I will speak on behalf of my Cabinet colleagues, and I'm sure someone of those might wish to comment as well. We are not here to risk the viability of Herefordshire Council. We are here to be responsible in what we do, and the business case for this route is being built up, and the funding, which I've said so many times before, comes as part of that business case. It is worked up with those partners who are our national funding partners, and we actually have a representative in the room today that is from the Midlands Engine, and I'm sure that she will be interested in hearing these comments, because the process of getting to a point of being able to get the funding into the delivery of the road, we have to follow the process, and we are following that process, and the funding that you mentioned of of extra money that needs into it is what we do. We are following that process correctly. Balfour Beatty are our public realm contractors. They have the money to deliver what we expect according to that process. And the partners will look to this and to this council and to our public realm contractor for the evidence that the business case is sound for this scheme. I cannot repeat that any more often, and I take up Mr. Hand's point, whether or not I'm qualified to say that. It is my job as a cabinet member to ensure that the process is followed correctly. I believe it is. I believe that our financial officer is comfortable with the situation to be able to ensure that we do not become a Northamptonshire, but we are robust in our financial decision making, and we will carry on with this project to be able to get it to a point where our partners are sure that the business case is robust. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Excuse me, which business case are we looking at? Because the one that was tabled for this project doesn't exist. The one, the strategic outline business case, which
Mrs.
you
Morris,
provided
you have had your
as well.
supplementary question. Please just
Okay, well, the strategic outline business case.
Sorry, hang on, please
clarify?
hang on. Can I just ask everyone to remain calm? Thank you.
The strategic outline business case that supports, which is in the evidence base for the decision today, is for a road from the A465 round to the A4103 Worcester Road. Now, that's why I'm asking, because that would be much more relevant to the Midlands Connect. If we're only looking from a road from the A465 to the A49, there is no strategic outline business case.
Mr. Brooks, would you like to comment, please?
I'm not able to quote the reference off the top of my head, but somewhere within that strategic outline business case, what you'll find is value for money for different sections of route, and you will find the what's termed the benefit cost ratio for different combinations of routes. And that includes the section of road that we're looking at today. The benefit cost ratio is only part of the value for money discussion. It needs to be considered, and we will be looking at that in more detail at the next stage. But it isn't correct to say that the previous one is not relevant to what we're looking at today.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your question. The next question comes from Mr. Morietsky, and he is here, and would you like to come forward and ask your supplementary question, please?
The most recent Authority Monitoring Report 2017 shows that the Hereford area has delivered net housing completions of 1,087 units in the 6-year period 2011-2017, an average of 181 net completions per annum. In this report, Herefordshire Council has forecast that a total of just 345 new houses will be completed in the 5 years to 2022 on the strategic urban sites in Hereford, including the urban village. This would indicate that the claims that option 3, not progressing the road, would prevent delivery of the core strategy growth targets, is not supported by the latest evidence provided by the Council, as the objectives are not being achieved even with the millions invested in the City Link Road. How does a 60-mile-per-hour dual carriageway through new housing estates at Three Elms bring forward the overinflated housing growth, particularly the 35% affordable homes which developers have said cannot be provided if they have to fund the road?
Councillor Price?
I'm not able to answer the part about the number of houses that have grown, but those figures are not what I understand to be correct. I understand that the housing is rapidly rising, the numbers delivered this year and next year. So I would have to do some further investigation into what has actually been delivered up to this date and what is expected in the next year. But I don't recognise the figures that you've given. With regard to the housing in Three Elms and the number of houses there, the reason why we are building the business case with our national partners to be able to fund the road is so that we can actually deliver the housing that we set out in the core strategy, with the ability for the developers to be able to put the money into the affordable housing and the infrastructure within that site, and that we are able to deliver the infrastructure outside of that site to be able to allow it to happen. I quite agree with you that the developers have an expectation of making a profit from what they do, and that they will always say that they can't deliver according to the core strategy plans. We are trying to enable that to happen by the policies that we are pursuing. So, in your question, I hope I've answered it. I believe housing is now ramping up. The core strategy was always going to be backloaded because we were starting from a poor housing development position. But that, I hope, satisfies you as an answer to your question. Thank you.
Will you confirm the number of houses that will be completed then?
As a council, every year we confirm the number of houses. I'm not sure which month it is, but I believe last year's figures for 2017 will be available soon. I'm not sure of it, but they will be available in due course.
Thank you for your question. The next question is from Ms. Harris, and she has indicated that she wishes to ask a supplementary question. So if you could come forward, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You expect the Southern Link Road to be opening in 2020 and has stated that the bypass might be opening in phases from 2022 onwards. The four-armed roundabout for the Southern Link Road might therefore only be in use for 2 or 3 years before it is rebuilt. The double construction will add considerably to the impact on road users and local residents. Is this a wise use of public money? And wouldn't it be better to delay the building of the Southern Link Road until the bypass is a viable project when the roundabout would only need to be built once? Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Harris, for your question. I have been raising this point for at least the last year because I have a feeling that the Southern Link Road...
Tails wagging a dog.
I have a feeling that the Southern Link Road and the bypass scheme could be closer together in delivery than was originally anticipated. The four-arm roundabout is part of the scheme for the SLR, and the bypass is a completely different scheme, but it adds to the bypass in its total. I've raised this question many times with the officers to ensure that the 5 arms of the bypass at that roundabout is thought about in a way of how we deliver it and how we go forward with it, because I share your point, not just from the construction point of view, but from the point that we construct a roundabout that then has to be changed for the bypass as it comes forward. And I do share your views on that, and I am constantly raising that to be an issue as far as the development of the project goes forward. So I thank you for your question, and I am aware of it, and I am raising it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next question is from Mr. Chapman, and he has indicated that he wishes to ask a supplementary question.
Thank you for your answer, your response. The appendices to which you refer to are very big documents. However, by stating in your answer, once the preferred route is selected and more detailed design of the scheme is completed, further traffic modelling will be undertaken, which will further examine the impact on Hereford's road network. You quite obviously implicitly stated that detailed modelling has not been undertaken. It's claimed there'll be improvements to the A49 through the city. But speaking as a layman to a layman, the A49 will no longer route through the city, so this doesn't make sense. My question was about journey times relevant to the citizen of Hereford, and journey times in Hereford, and not for people who have no interest in visiting and thus bypassing our city and our people. In public meetings and consultation events, WSP on questioning has been clear that congestion will worsen, as the questioner correctly asserted. So this does amount to council misinformation. In order that council is not economical with the truth to its citizens, shouldn't this modelling be accurately undertaken after carefully reading the 428 pages of Appendix 1 and the 168 pages of Appendix 2 before concluding any decision on routing?
Yes, thank you for the question. Because it is a technical requirement to answer what you're specifically asking, I'm going to refer to Martin Brooks from WSP, if he can give you the answer that you've asked for. Thank you.
The first point I'd want to make is that it isn't correct to think that, I'm not sure the exact phrase that you used, but traffic that is simply wanting to pass through Hereford, I think was the phrase you used, that's going to be the only traffic that's going to use the bypass. There is going to be a lot of other people who also choose to use the bypass, who either are starting their journey or finishing their journey within Hereford. It's not just people who want to travel through Hereford to get from one side to the other as quickly as possible. So, to give a couple of examples, with the bypass in place, if somebody was coming down the 438 and would currently be going down Kingsacre Road right the way down to the A49 to then get to the Enterprise Zone, for example, they would no longer have to do that. They would use the bypass instead and then the Southern Link Road in order to get access to the Enterprise Zone. And it's possible to think of lots of different origins and destinations for journeys where people will be using the bypass for one part of that journey. So it is important that we recognise that the bypass is not simply there for through traffic. It will help to redistribute some of the traffic which either starts or finishes within Hereford. Not all of it, obviously, but a part of it. And in so doing, it will be taking traffic away from some of the existing roads within Hereford and thereby creating relief to those roads. We also, of course, have to recognise that there is new growth for the city in terms of new homes and new jobs. And that new homes and new jobs will mean new traffic. What we then have to do is we then have to look at the net effects of all that taking place, alongside the fact that in Hereford transport package is more than just the bypass, it is also the active travel measures. And the active travel measures will be encouraging as many people as possible for the shorter journeys to be walking and cycling to make that more attractive. So the further traffic modelling that we refer to in the question will be able to take account of the interaction between not only the bypass but also the active travel measures. It isn't correct to say that we haven't done any traffic modelling as the answer to the question explains. But the further traffic modelling will be more detailed and it will take into account the interaction between the bypass and the active travel measures. And when we've got that in place, then it will be clear the extent of relief that is forecast to occur over the whole of the Hereford City Road network.
So the comment about the A49 in the response is incorrect. Is the A49 going through the middle of the city or not?
Okay, let me just read the question to be absolutely sure of my response for a moment. Okay, it's a little bit of semantics, I think, but just bear with me. With
the question was about Hereford and not about traffic
The journey-
on the bypass. I want
Sorry,
to
sorry,
know
can
what
you just-
will happen to
can you
congestion
just-
in Hereford.
Excuse me, sir, can you just allow Mr Brooks to answer, please?
The journey times for individual journeys will depend on the routes that they follow. Some of those journeys will use the A49 for part of their journey. The existing A49, the travelling conditions on that will improve when the bypass is in place. What number that road has in the future, I don't know. What number the bypass will have in the future, I don't know. But if we can just concentrate on the roads themselves rather than the numbers, the existing A49, the travelling conditions will improve along that road in the future. And on the bypass from north to south will make it quicker for through traffic to use the bypass than use the existing route.
And this is incorrect information.
Please, sorry, can I... Can,
By 2030...
no, sorry, madam. Sorry, can you please sit down, please? Please sit down. Can you, madam, can you please sit down? If you have points to make, please put them in writing to the council. Please sit down. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your question. Thank you.
And I hope the council will listen to the public on the question.
The next question is from Ms Tong, and she's informed us that she wishes to ask a supplementary question. So if you'd like to come forward and answer your question, ask your question. Thank you.
Truth needs to be said today, because how can you make a decision without it?
If you'd like to ask your supplementary question, please.
It is interesting to note that the desktop studies and preliminary studies failed to identify a nationally important orchard of rare cider fruit varieties built up over many years. Even though this is the cider apple symbol is the council's new brands. In view of the lack of detailed information available from the desktop studies on the Southern Link Road and the poor quality surveys undertaken for the second phase of the proposed bypass, how confident are the council that other nationally important environments, habitats and species will not lie in the route corridor being brought out forward for selection today?
Thank you for your question. Councillor Price?
I'm sure Martin Brooks will want to follow up on what I'm going to say, but with reference to the collection of cider apples orchards, I'm assuming we're talking about the Pipping Trust. We have met with the Pipping Trust, and we have absolutely understood what their issues are, and we are working with them as to what we can do to deal with it. On the wider question of are there other ecological issues or environmental issues, there is bound to be environmental issues on a road that passes for 8.5 kilometres through open countryside. But the point of this exercise is to choosing the best performing route of all of the options. That's why we started with the short option at the last consultation, and to pick a route now. I'm sure that our consultants will pick up on the point and will confirm why this route has been chosen and what we're going to do about any other issues that we have as we go to the next stage.
Thank you for your question.
Can I just say I have no confidence in it, because the amount of times that the field officers have been there is like one or two. There's badgers, there's bats, there's all sorts of things on that route that are going to be destroyed and lose their habitats.
The next question is from Mrs Morris, and she's indicated that she wishes to ask a supplementary question. So if you'd like to come forward, please.
Thank you for the response to my first question. Councillor Price, in view of the impact of air pollution, noise and other dangers, is it appropriate for a 60 mile per hour carriageway to go through the middle of a new proposed housing estates planned for west and north of Hereford City. Simple.
In the context of how you've asked the question, yes, I would say that it is, but any housing, and I dare say that if we look at probably examples of all sorts of places, when you travel around the countryside on dual carriageway, you will see housing estates built to the edge of it, newly built. So we're not doing anything different here, but the evidence that supports whether it's producing pollution or is difficult for residents, etc., will come out of the business case as we move forward. So I don't believe that we're doing anything different to what has been done in many other places. Is it appropriate? Well, in the context of Hereford and dealing with its traffic infrastructure and its growth for housing, it is obvious that we will be building houses somewhere and the infrastructure will go somewhere, and this is what this process is taking us through.
Is that it?
Thank you, Mrs. Morris, for your question. The next question is from Mr. Morfitt, and he has indicated that he wishes to ask a supplementary question. So if you'd like to come forward, please.
Phase 2 consultation did not provide the public with any detailed information on the impact on biodiversity. The speaker is a fisherman, a geologist and a lover of nature. In fact, the very considerable impact on protected species and heritage landscapes was downplayed in summary and ignored in detail. How can this consultation process, public consultation process and strategic decision be considered in any way valid without these very important facts, which are a major threat to the biodiversity of the fourth longest river in this country?
Please, Mr. Walker, please, can you remain calm, please?
I'm very calm.
I would say that it may very well be the fourth longest river in the country, but we are crossing it in a 50-metre corridor. We will protect everything that we need to protect. We will look at every aspect of the environment, its ecology, and all of the points you raised to mitigate to the best advantage that is available to the people that are advising us to make sure that they follow best practice in delivery of this scheme. I can understand how committed you are to it. However, we are trying here to produce a scheme.
Try harder! Get some electric buses! Get some trains! Get some public transport!
Mr. Morfitt, please.
Come on, let's go! It's rubbish! This is an absolute travesty! Absolute travesty!
Please, can I have quiet, please? Out of respect for the next person's question. Can we have quiet, please? Can we have quiet, please? Sorry, can we have quiet, please? No, sorry, can we have some quiet, please? Out of respect for the next person's question. Can we have quiet, please? The next question is, Ms. Simpson's not here, so the next question is Dr. Roman, and she is requested to ask a supplementary question. Thank you.
Hi there. The strategic outline business case on the council's website appears to be for the delivery of a road from the A465 South Hereford to the A4103 Worcester Road.
This is not the Hereford transport package that the Cabinet are considering today. This strategic outline business case appears to have underestimated the costs of this road and overestimated the benefits. Would the Cabinet member please confirm that the road project being considered by Cabinet today will really deliver a further 5,134 jobs on top of the 5,000 jobs the Southern Link Road business case claims it will deliver as a separate standalone road project?
Thank you for your question. Councillor Price?
Whatever my answer to this, it will be taken in the wrong context, because I cannot guarantee and even suggest that there will be 5,134 more jobs as a result of this road. It is the principle of growth that we are talking about here, is that the principle of growth, and what we have already agreed over the number of years with the core strategy, is that we are aiming to produce more jobs, more investment into those jobs. We have an enterprise zone that is designed to do just that. We are investing in it to produce more jobs. We have strategic housing sites and many other housing sites that will deliver housing. This infrastructure is necessary to make it happen. If we do not do it, we will not produce any jobs extra that we are looking for. And unfortunately, I believe that to be absolutely the truth. We are looking, as this council has 3 planks of being. One is for children's safeguarding, adults' well-being, and economic growth. Economic growth is coming from the ability to have the infrastructure to make it happen, rather than the other way around. So we are putting infrastructure in place. That's why we are here. We have been looking at this for over 10 years, actually much longer than that, but for 10 years in this current state. And we believe, as a Cabinet and as a Council, that we need to move forward to produce growth, and that is why we are here to choose the recommended route for the bypass. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Thank you for your question.
I strongly suggest to get with the 21st century strategies for growth. 21st
Yes.
century.
Okay, thank you for your question. The next question is from Ms Sharp, but she's not present, and so the next question is from Mr Tony Easton. You have requested to ask a supplementary, so please come forward.
Thank you, Leader. My original question asked the Cabinet member to confirm that no roads or public rights of way in Brainton would be closed by the Red Route. Cabinet member's answer, for which I thank you, Councillor Price, can't confirm this. So, assuming that there will be some, let's move on to another issue of local concern. The additional information provided in your many appendices on embankments, junctions, etc. are causing quite considerable concern locally. The Scrutiny Committee were told that these were indicative designs. So, can the Cabinet member confirm that these indicative designs are what the consultants prefer, what they will continue to work on, and what will be built, unless a new constraint emerges or these consultants are given different instructions? If these designs are not being worked on, Leader, then what was the point of including them at all?
Thank you for your question. Councillor Price?
I believe that the consultants are instructed to ensure that every right-of-way, every road has to be considered in the end design of what is being built up. How we try to ensure that there are, I won't say none stopped up, because that will be part of the consultation. If there are any roads or routes or rights of way that are potentially to be closed, there will be mitigation in place to make alternative arrangements. That is part and parcel of coming forward with the design, subject to the red route being the recommended route at this moment in time. The consultants are very well aware that we expect that the integrity of the network of routes, roads, bridleways, footpaths, all of those routes which you question, that they have to find solutions to ensure that this road enables the network to continue, that is for cycling, walking and other ways of getting around, as well as just the traffic on that bypass. So yes, whilst I cannot say there won't be any closures, but they will be mitigated in full, and that will be available at the next consultation for people who have a concern about that to raise it at that point. Until we have the full design potential, and that includes all of the cuttings and all of the infill and embankments that this route will entail, we will see emerging issues and problems of which we will be addressing, and that will be part of the next stage consultation. So I'll take your point in the vein that it was given, and yes, we are working on it to make sure that we try to mitigate everything that becomes an issue. Thank you.
Thank you for your question.
Well, I'm not sure it's been answered, Chairman. I wanted confirmation that the embankments, junctions and all the extra information that is causing a lot of concern, particularly through Brainton, is what the consultants will continue to work on and what will be built unless some new constraint emerges or Mr Price and his colleagues give different instructions. Because if all those designs, including very high embankments, are not what is being worked on, I cannot understand what was the point of including them in the 1,700 odd pages that you put out in the public domain.
Mr Brooks, would you like to comment?
The approach that we followed right the way through developing the Hereford Transport package is termed a proportionate approach by the Department for Transport. If you recall, if you go back to the last stage, we were looking at 24 options at that point. Now we're currently looking at 7. Once the preferred route is agreed, we'll be looking at 1. What we had to do for the 7 options was to do a consistent and comparable exercise so that we could compare them all on a like-for-like basis. But Councillor Price is absolutely right. In the next stage, once the preferred route is agreed, we will then be looking at the designs in more detail. And at that stage, we'll be looking at the sorts of issues that you just mentioned, heights of embankment, depths of cutting, and so on. But it only makes sense to do that once we have a single preferred route that's agreed.
I'm sorry. Thank you
very much.
I think the question is the answer.
Well, with respect, we've had the officer explain that further details need to be addressed once the route is selected, and that's what we're here to decide today.
He was not answering the question. There are embankments, there are bridges, there are crazy junctions in these indicative designs. Now, either those are carrying on being worked on, or they're scrapping those and coming back with something else. It's not a matter of tweaking things here and there. We're moving millions of tons of earth. Are these what are the current assumptions, or are they not? Yes would do, or even no.
I think the officer has given you the view.
He's given me his usual blandishments.
Well, with respect, you've asked the question.
I don't care about your respect. I've asked a question. I'm not getting an answer, Chair.
Mr. Deason, you know full well that the process we have to follow in road building, major road building, is that once we have a preferred route, the consultants have to follow the process that is set by government in major road schemes, and that is generally that movement of earth is comparable to the site itself. We do not wish to move thousands of tons of earth off-site to find a home elsewhere. We have to deal with cuttings and fill according to the amount that has to be moved on the site. So along the Brenton area, all the way from the River Wye right to Kingacre, there is some quite big cuttings. Well, there is some cuttings on the Belmont side as well. But where there are cuttings, that earth has to be put in context of the road, and there will be embankments. And what I've said to you in my answer is that where there are issues of crossing and going under or stopping up, that has to be mitigated in the context of the original assessment for any contractor as to where the earth goes from the movements that are necessary for the project. That will be built up into the next consultation process, and at that point, I'm sure you will have much to say at that point. But until we have a full working design on the recommended route, we can only say that we are looking at and addressing your points. And that's what we are doing.
Thank you very much. This process does not say there should be a bridge here, there should be an embankment there, there should be a deep cutting. Yet this council has produced plans that show deep cuttings, embankments and bridges. And they're not standing by them, they're not saying that's what's going to be built, and you are not saying that those are not going to be what's being built. I look forward, Councillor Price, to inviting you to...
I have to say, and I just said all that in an answer to you. Just don't accept what I'm saying.
You could say yes,
Gentlemen, please.
I'm not saying yes.
Thank you. That's it. Thank you. There's another question. Thank you.
I look forward to welcoming Councillor Price.
Thank you.
In Brainton, no doubt.
Thank you.
His colleagues.
Thank you very much. Thank you. The next question is from Ms. Nilsson, and she is present and wishes to ask a supplementary question. Would like to come forward and ask your supplementary question, please.
Thank you. In the interest of clarity, I'd just like to refer to the generic response. I'd like to refer to the generic response given to my question, which actually answers question 5. And it says the council has had detailed discussions with both the landlord and current operator of the community farm. The landlord has confirmed that he sees no reason why the farm should continue to operate if the bypass is built. I would like it actually noted that there are only 2 sole operators of the community farm. There only ever have been and only ever will be. That is myself and Mr. John Trimble. The landlord is purely the landlord. He has nothing to do with the operation of Hereford Community Farm. And for him to confirm that he sees no reason why the farm should not continue if the bypass is built is therefore irrelevant. And I would like that noted and removed, please. Okay. My question is that in the route selection report, Appendix 4, there was references made to policy SC1 of the Herefordshire Local Plan Core Strategy, which requires that existing community and social facilities will be retained, unless it can be demonstrated that they can be replaced in terms of size, quality and accessibility. It also states that Hereford Community Hall is a community asset, and how it is affected by the bypass would likely be considered as an important and relevant matter material to the decision. Councillor Price references detailed discussions. I would like to know when these have taken place for him to arise at his decisions. And I would like to know going forward that those decisions will actually be with the proprietors and not the landlord in our absence, so that there is clarity and transparency. And I say this representing the 70 other attendees of the farm and their families. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nilsson. As you know, we have met twice at the community farm, and you were present at both of them. And the first conversation was around getting to know what you did and how you did it, and the impact of your business and on the people that you serve. The second meeting was more to get into some sort of debate about how we can work with you to allow you to continue going forward. That meeting came away, as far as I was concerned, and the officers, that there was a definite move that the community farm wouldn't continue with any route that was there, and I took that to mean exactly what we said. However, I do believe that the community farm serves a purpose, and you and Mr. Trimble are the owners of that business, and the officers of this council will be having many meetings with you as to how you can best go forward, whether it is on that site or a change within that site or another site. We will be working with you as we move to the next stage consultation as to how the preferred route will impact on your business. The reference to the landlord, yes, we've had, I have had the same number of conversations with him as I have had with you, in that he has a view, you have a view, and I have to take into consideration what that view is, and I understand that he is willing to allow you to do considerable changes within the site, if that's what is to happen. He is investing in the community farm, the property on which you occupy, with potential new buildings, and planning permission has been sought. So the upshot of this is we have to have a conversation with you in depth, with our officers, to understand what this means to you going forward. Can it be mitigated or not? And what happens if it's a negative response from that negotiation, because we have to have that conversation. The officers know it and are prepared to meet with you. So the sooner the better. I suspect that we have those conversations with you as to how we move forward. I can't say any more at this stage, but we are there to have that conversation with you.
Well, I'd ask that those are taken solely with myself and Mr. Trimble as regards the future of Hereford Community Farm, because the views that you've expressed and what you've been given to believe are not what we have been given to understand. And we are, as you know, when you came to the second event, which we asked you to meet with families, that was as part of the consultation process, primarily for those families to be able to put forward their concerns and their fears for the future. I did not realise that that was being classed as a detailed discussion as to what will potentially happen. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your supplementary question. The next question is from Dr. Beeson. Dr. Beeson is here and wishes to ask a supplementary question. Thank you.
Good morning. The proposed red route with high-level viaduct will have significant adverse effects on the ancient woodland adjacent to the River Wye SNC SSI. The new National Planning Policy Framework, published this week, seeks to increase protection from disturbance for ancient woodland and other trees, unless, quote, there are wholly exceptional reasons, unquote, not to. If Herefordshire Council believes that there are wholly exceptional reasons to approve the red route, please can these be listed now?
The question of whether or not we mitigate the woodland, you will find that in the selection of the best performing route is the red route, is that there were only ever two possibilities of crossing the River Wye as far as this road is concerned, and the reason why the red route was chosen, one of the reasons in that sector was that it was missing the historic woodland on the north side of the river. The other river crossing would actually go through two sections of that wood, albeit there is a gap, but it had been considered that that gap was a run between the two woods, and in just that one particular issue, it was considered better to go closer to the city. That is just one of the reasons why this route is what it is recommended as being the route. I'm sure that in the context of the regulations that you're quoting, I think possibly our advisors may have a comment to make on that. But from my perspective, I believe that for the betterment of Herefordshire, the reasons in planning context is that this route is a benefit, and we could argue the case against the ecology, but I don't believe that we are damaging, as I said before, specifically the special area of conservation in the River Wye. But maybe Martin Brooks would like to comment.
Mr. Thomas, you wanted to comment? Thank you, Councillor Price. With regards to the SAC and SSI, early consultation with Natural England already concluded about a biogas solution across that feature. That avoids any direct impact into that particular watercourse. The SSI and SAC is actually specific to the River Wye itself. So that mitigation has already been incorporated into all the shortlisted designs, including the red bridge at present. With regards to ancient woodland and ancient and veteran trees, your policy quote is correct. We are avoiding direct impact on ancient woodland, though we have acknowledged within our reports that we are still within the protected buffer, which is a 50-metre buffer. That is work we are doing at the next stage of the scheme in terms of looking at the design, both at possibly tweaking the alignment or minimising its footprint to take ourselves outside of that buffer. And the same for the sort of ancient and veteran trees as well. The redwood had one of the least impact on those features, hence that's what went into the sort of reselection report and one of the factors considered. But we are still affecting some of those features. And again, we will go through the same design exercise to sort of try to sort of review that design to minimise and remove that impact.
I don't see how you can justify approving the red route today without having more information about how you would attempt to mitigate. And if you've had discussions with Natural England, why is that information not in the public domain to inform discussion and decision?
Yes, if you'd like to come back, Mr. Thomas. Sure. The information on the potential options for mitigating those impacts is actually described in the Stage 2 Environmental Assessment Report, which is Appendix 3 within the pack. The discussions with Natural England have been ongoing and quite extensive, and they have made the very same points, but equally understands the complexity of the sort of designing a highway through this impact. If impacts are remaining, then we are entering the sort of realm of mitigation and compensation for that. And again, that is outlined in the Stage 2 EAR, and those discussions will be ongoing with Natural England.
This is simply not a good location for any road or bypass.
Thank you for your question. Thank you. The next question is from Mr. Hunter, but has indicated that he does not wish to ask a supplementary question. The next question is from Mr. Kerry, and he has indicated that he wishes to ask a supplementary question. So if you'd like to come forward, Mr. Kerry.
Thank you. The active travel measures are overwhelmingly popular and very important as part of the package. And I'm grateful for the answer to the first part of the question, that some of those will be progressed before the bypass is completed where they can be. If the bypass actually does reduce through traffic, but the new housing measures increase local traffic, and the present route of the A49, whatever it might be called, remains as busy as ever, are all the proposed active travel measures listed in reports actually deliverable, or are some of them aspirational?
The active travel measures in regard to, let's take the second part of if the A49 through road is then the bypass. Within what we are considering is how do we change the culture of people using bicycles, walking, public realm, and deal with the development of the university altogether. So the culture will be forced to change in the city centre because of those active travel measures. Now there will always be an element of people that will not participate in active travel measures because they live 20 miles outside of the city and they wish to come in and do their shopping in the supermarket or whatever. But we, as part of the active travel measures initiative in the Hereford Transport Plan, have to consider making a culture change rather than asking for a culture change. And that is what the design going forward is going to look at, is what do we do with the freed up capability of the city centre to enable active travel measures to be the wrong word, but it's what I'm thinking at the moment, forced upon people to participate rather than continue to use the motor car in the city centre. So the active travel measures that are going to come as a result of the A49 going from the city centre will be looked at culture change and how it's enabled, and that we do achieve what we want to achieve by getting people healthier by being active.
If I understand you correctly, Councillor, that means you are committed to delivering them all. Is that the case?
We are all. The active travel measures are being worked up in the complexity that it is for the city centre, in the complexity of growth, in the complexity of housing, in the complexity of the university coming. There is a considerable amount of work going ahead here, is to make sure that the city centre becomes a place where people feel happy to be able to choose to walk or cycle, as against constantly battling against cars and lorries and HGVs. So all is the intention is to deliver. Now, at this moment in time, until we've chosen the route which is expected today, what we can then work up is the corridors of active travel, whatever they will look like in the final design, can only be completed once we have selected this route, because we intend that this route is very much an active travel route as well as being a route for traffic to get around Hereford. So yes, we are looking at all routes that we can achieve on active travel.
Thank you for your question. Next two questions from Ms. Toynbee and Mr. Lagut. They are not present, so the last question is from Ms. Parris. She is present and indicated that she wishes to ask a supplementary question.
Thank you for the answer which you gave to a similar question earlier on. Except you will notice traffic congestion is notably reduced in the school holidays. Much easier to get here around the city. £6.1 million has been spent on consultation already. How many school buses would that fund, reducing congestion during term time by up to 50%? Would you consider that? That would be an active measure to start next term.
In a roundabout way, to answer your question, we constantly are told, and I found it this morning as well, that there is less traffic this morning, because today apparently is the busiest day for people getting away on holiday abroad or whatever. The reality of the traffic in Hereford is that many people who travel in and around Hereford choose to do it before or after the school traffic. And that was born by a conversation you were having with the consultants in the last week. If there was, this is more of a conversation piece to have with you rather than just a straight answer. But if I was to say we would pay for more buses, that is a consideration as part of a project for exactly that and how we deal with school traffic. I don't believe that the lack of traffic at 8:30, 9 o'clock in Hereford is necessarily down to the fact that it's the half term. People have chosen not to go at that time, and when there are holidays on, they are going to work earlier and coming back later. Hence, we find that there are other times of day when there is congestion in Hereford that has nothing to do with the school transport. And I think it is a culture that has come around because of the time of the day that there is congestion on the network. There are times of most days when you can actually get through Hereford reasonably, and there are times when you can't. And a lot of that is down to the fact that there is through traffic still congesting Hereford, because they're not aware of the times that other people are aware that there is congestion. You may laugh, but on the basis of money, I would ask if my cabinet colleague Nigel Shaw might make a contribution to whether or not we would fund such a request.
I think we're comparing apples and pears here in terms that the potential, the funding for a capital project is quite different to adding to revenue expenditure for the council. There are all kinds of problems in the choice of school that parents choose to send their children to, whether they're within the catchment area or not. A lot of, I know from experience, a lot of children travel with their parents and are dropped off as the parents are driving to work and are picked up at different times by different members of family. The way of changing the mode of children going to school, I think, comes down to enabling far more children to be able to walk through the city centre or to cycle through the city centre on roads which are subject to 20-mile-an-hour limits and subject to improved cycle and pedestrian walkways.
I don't think you get a child walking who is in Whitecross walking to Bishop School. It's too far. But a bus into the lovely hub we're going to have by the railway station can take them to school in 20 minutes.
Thank you for your question. Thank you very much. So that concludes the item where there are questions from members of the public.